a Mad Tea Party production.
What the fuck was that?
Wait a minute.
Wait,
Don't
stop it. As far back as I can remember, I never wanted to die in some asshole's trunk. He likes to eat barbecue jumbo shrimp, motherfucker. Doug Wall. He is not going to kill a man because there's nothing liberating about going to jail. Lee Bridges. He really does like ballin' black chicks. Garrick Lane. Tales from the video store. How's it hanging? I really do like ballin' black chicks.
Slightly to the left. How are you?
Yeah, so slightly to the right and a little bit chafed this morning.
Well played.
How we doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Great. This is our second week of 1990s gangster movies. Did you watch any?
I watched one other gangster movie from the 90s. I knew we were doing a deep cover today, so I chose another Bill Duke, Hoodlum, from 1997.
Right.
Starring Lawrence Fishburne, Tim Roth, Andy Garcia. It's a story of African-American gangster from the 1930s by the name of Bumpy Johnson. He kind of ran Harlem from, I guess, about the time this movie starts until, I think, the late 1960s.
So we should recall this block the triple fish sandwich.
Triple fish sandwich, exactly. It does involve, real life characters. Tim Roth plays Dutch Schultz, who was a crazy ass gangster from New York around this time. Andy Garcia plays Lucky Luciano, and it is a fictionalized account. There's no evidence that anything that happened in this movie actually took place.
Right.
It's just kind of about Tim Roth's character, Dutch Schultz, trying to kind of take over what is called the numbers game. And basically what it is, it's almost like a lottery. Mm-hmm. Like you pay a little bit of money, you get a slip of paper with a number on it, and then they print the number in the newspaper, and whoever wins, you win some money. And it's about Schultz trying to come in and kind of take over this numbers game, and Bumpy Johnson trying to stop it and kind of grow into his own kind of, what's the word? Gang leader, right. I guess. I remember when this movie came out, I was really excited about it. But I also remember that I didn't really love it. And I couldn't remember why. So watching it again, I still can't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
But it's just not great.
Yeah. It's good.
It's okay.
Right.
The dialogue is fine. It looks fine. But there's something missing.
I think it never goes
grimy enough.
It never goes grimy. It never goes to that level where you're like, holy shit, that happened.
Right.
Like when, now one of the things that did happen was the thing with the balls.
Right.
Dutch Schultz cuts off the guy's balls and throws them. Apparently that did actually happen. Because he was just, like all the other Jewish gangsters at that time, were like, that guy was a psychopath.
Right.
He wasn't, and he just, but it never goes to that sort of Goodfellas, like the Billy Bat scene.
Right. It's almost just too lighthearted in some scenes. Now, it does have some grittier scenes, but for whatever reason, it
feels homogenized.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can put it.
Pretty much. And sometimes period pieces, they're so concentrated on the period that they kind of lose the essence of the story, and that's kind of what I feel happened in this one. It's considering that Duke did this and Deep Cover. To me, he really kind of took a step down after Deep Cover. It just doesn't hold up.
It does have the line, "I'll beat you till you smell like onions."
Yeah, it does. Like I say, some of the dialogue's fantastic. Some of the shots are fantastic.
Right.
The individual performances are great. Tim Roth is fantastic. Andy Garcia is fantastic as Lucky Luciano. Everybody in it's fine. It's just sometimes it doesn't work. And,
Right.
and for me, this one, I can't say it's a not rent.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it.
If you've seen like tons of 90 gangster movies, you've never seen it, I would say rent it.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Only if it's like $1.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the only gangster movie I watched. The other movie that I watched was a Lee Bridges pick, Brain Dead. From 1985. And I was sitting around the other night. It was late. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to watch this just to see. And about 5 minutes into it, I thought, what have I gotten myself into?
Right.
Do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
But the fact is, I fucking loved it.
The first like 10, 15 minutes is very rough.
Right.
Yeah.
Until it kind of gets into the meat of the story. It's kind of like, it's so insane with how these characters jump from whatever reality to not reality to where I'm not even sure exactly what the story was, to be honest with you. By the end, it's like 12 Monkeys and Fight Club.
Yeah.
Like had a baby. Right. And this is kind of, this is the offspring.
Yeah.
It is an absolute rent. It doesn't look great.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I don't think it looked great. It almost looked it's...
The print on Prime is a full frame. It's not in widescreen.
Right.
So it looks...
It's a little
It's
grainy.
a TV print from the 90s.
Right.
Yeah.
Starring Bill Pullman and Bill Paxton. Both of them are fantastic, and both of them are young as shit.
Yeah.
But I laughed out loud at least 10 times during it.
Yeah.
It has some great scenes. It's fun. It's nothing too serious. It's short.
Yeah.
It's a get in, get out. If you want to see something a little funky about some guys...
I'm interested in seeing it now.
Yeah.
After the text back and forth, I was like, man, I gotta watch this.
It's out there.
I would like to see... There's actually a really nice Blu-ray of it out.
Right.
And I would like to see it like in full frame, full screen. I mean, widescreen. And I would actually like to read the original script because, like I said, it was written in 1963.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much was changed. Obviously, a lot of the cultural references and just the way people talk.
Right.
But like Bill Paxton, like the first 50 minutes, everything he says is just weird. Like he just says random things.
The whole movie says random things.
But then he becomes a different character. And then he becomes a scientist, and you're like,
the whole thing is so out there.
Right.
But
and what I thought was weird was, in both this and Serpent the Rainbow, Bill Pullman says, "I'm not dead yet." Like in those movies were made within like 2 years of each other.
yeah, I think 89 or 88. Yeah. Cool movie, man. If you like weird shit, if you liked anything from our Death and Dismemberment block, from a couple weeks ago, then I suggest Brain Dead if you have never seen it.
Yeah.
It's a good time. It's like 88 minutes or something. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It
It is like a feature-length Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Is that all you watched?
That's all.
I rewatched two older movies, but the first time watch, it actually was a gangster movie from the 70s, and it actually kind of ties into Hoodlum. It was called The Stone Killer, with Charles Bronson, directed by Michael Winner, who also directed the original Death Wish and 1,000 other movies. But what it's about is this crime family, when you're talking about Bumpy Johnson, in the early 1930s, Lucky Luciano, Bugsy Siegel, Bumpy Johnson, black gangsters, Irish gangsters, Jewish gangsters, they all kind of came together in this one central organization. Like a lot of the Jewish American gangsters got like the West Coast and, from Nevada to California. That's where you get Las Vegas and things like that. You know. And this crime family, led by Martin Balsam, they were very against that. So basically they're trying to purify the mafia. And where the title comes from, Stone Killer, is if you bring someone in who's outside of the family. Like if me and you were in the mob and I brought in just some guy, paid him $1,000 just to kill you, so I wouldn't be connected. It's called a Stone Killer. Right. So the Martin Balsam's character has gotten like this small army of Vietnam vets together to basically eliminate all the other mafia heads. So he can basically cut out that foreign influence. He views it from the early 1930s when Dutch Schultz and Bugsy Siegel and all those guys came into the organization. So it will be a completely Sicilian organization again. And Bronson he kidnaps this guy. Not kidnaps, but he arrests this guy who's this old mob crony who's addicted to heroin. And he's like, if you take me back to New York, I'm going to die. And he's like, whatever, man. You're 70 years old. Who cares? And as soon as they step onto the curb of the airport, to hail a cab. A car spins by and somebody blasts him with a shotgun. Like 2 seconds after they walk out of the airport.
He's like, I told you.
And that's when Bronson starts putting it all together. And it's an okay movie. I don't know if I'd watch it again.
Right.
I got it in a 4-pack of Bronson movies, But it was interesting. And like I said, it kind of ties into,
sure.
the movie you watched. And other than that, I rewatched True Romance. Yeah. And I rewatched Sexy Beast with the 2 movies I watched. Because
True Romance is a classic.
it is. It's amazing.
Talking about some classic walking.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
Whew. Classic Pitt.
Yeah.
I mean,
Classic everybody.
Pitt said 3 words in the whole movie,
Right.
and they were the best lines.
Yeah.
Like him smoking the pot out of the honey bear.
Yeah.
Don't you condescend
To me,
man.
Cute.
Kill you.
Young James Gandolfini.
Great,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, God, yeah. Michael Rappaport.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Can you not refill the toilet paper, man? Like, it's just great.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Tarantino said that's like Clarence is him.
Right.
Like he said, that's me. He's like, when he says, when you took off your dress, I was just glad you didn't have a dick. He's like, that's how I felt about going out on dates in my early 20s. He said, when I wasn't famous, I was just like, well, let's see what happens. I'm very uncool. Yeah. The only thing he changed is he didn't work at a comic book store, he worked in a video store.
Right.
But yeah. But yeah, awesome movie. And like I said, rewatched Sexy Beast, and as great as Ben Kingsley is in that movie, and he is, when I was watching it, I was just like, Ian McShane is the devil in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he is just amazing. Like when he goes to the old guy's house at the end and he makes him pour, Ray Winston a drink and he hands it to him. He just goes, I'm all right. And just shoots him in the head. And I'm like, did he shoot him in the head because he didn't offer him a drink? Or just, yeah.
Awesome movie.
Awesome movie, yeah.
I actually managed to find 9 hours to watch The Unsolved. It was all sporadic. The Tupac, Biggie, USA.
Now, was that a TV show or a docuseries?
Okay, so I guess it's I don't know what you call it. It's 8 episodes and from start to finish. Isn't that a docuseries?
Yeah, but it's not a show. It's a documentary.
Yeah, no. It was a narrate. It was actually filmed. It had
Sad documentary.
Yeah, no. It's a.
It's like a docudrama.
Yes.
Like half film, half documentary.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was more. It was just like it. You know what it felt like? It felt just like The People vs. OJ.
Right.
That's exactly. It had well-known actors in it. Actually.
Over here.
Oh, what? Your phone in charge? Fuck you. Pay me.
Oh, you didn't bring your notes? Fuck you, pay me. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about? Fuck you, pay me. Right.
Touche, fair enough. Okay, Unsolved was directed by Anthony Hemingway and a couple of others, based on Greg Kading's book. So basically, in a nutshell, this thing pans out just like The People versus OJ. Josh Duhamel is in it. Mark Rose, not our Mark Rose. Bokeem Woodbine is the black detective. It's star-studded, man. Jimmy Simpson plays Russell Poole. Yeah. It's pretty good. I think the problem that I have with it, it's 8 shows. It's about 2 shows too long.
Like a Netflix show.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the whole investigation, like I spoke last week, it's still open. Right. And so basically, this show, as well as it's shot, as stylized as it is, and as cool and retrospective from that time period as it was, like down to, there's one scene where they were driving on Sunset Strip, and you could see the Liar Liar billboard up on the building. Like, they did a fantastic job. But I think the problem is there is no resolve in that, so there is no resolve in this, and it leaves you. Maybe that's what they wanted. Right. It leaves you going, well, this sucks because all they do for 8 episodes is go from. So basically, real fast, I'll break it down. There was a Russell Poole investigation when Biggie died, right after Biggie and Tupac died. They went on for a year and a half. They got nowhere because Chief Park said, we're not going to have another media circus, so stop. If we end up finding out the cops had something to do with these guys, it'll be another media circus like the O.J. Simpson trial, so they buried it. 10 years later, the new guy, Greg Kading, is tasked with bringing it back up again.
Cold case.
Cold case. So basically, unsolved storyline goes from Tupac and Biggie before as they're getting into, going to Bad Boy and going to Death Row. There's that storyline, and then there's the storyline of the Russell Pools investigation, and then it parallels with the Greg Kading, and they go back and forth. And sometimes it gets a little bit jumbled. But I think the reason is because all they do for 8 hours is talk to different thugs who's sending them in other directions. And so when you're done, it's almost like you want an answer.
Right. Well, that's the problem with things like that. It's like, I think the best true crime movie of, say, the past 20 years is Zodiac.
It's amazing.
But see, they have a point of view. Like, it's Arthur Lee Allen was the Zodiac killer. Now, he may or may not have been. We'll never know. But, with something like, you kind of have to have a point of view, but at the same time, you want to stay truthful, but if there's no answer, there's no resolution.
Right.
So you kind of have to, like the way Zodiac does it, they're like, this is what we think, entirely up to you. But you can't really, I don't think you could do that with this case. You couldn't be like, it was all Suge Knight, whatever, just cut to him sitting in jail.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and as much as it probably is Suge Knight,
right.
You're right. But there is no resolve. So as good as I would say that it is, when it was over, I was kind of like, well, I saw that coming, obviously, because there is no answer. But then it's almost like you can't do a show on it because
there's no end.
Yeah, it leaves you unfulfilled. Like
right.
I don't know what.
And I know people who hate Zodiac for that reason. They're like, they never caught him. I'm like, he was never caught.
No, but it's a perfect movie.
It really is.
About an unsolved crime, you can't do it any better.
But with this, like you said, there's no cops storming into somewhere and putting cuffs on somebody.
Right.
Which is what people want.
And they're not really focused on, like, well, all the information kind of points towards this person.
Yeah, they go about all over the place.
They can say, well, we think that maybe Suge Knight orchestrated it. Okay, so he paid some crackhead to come and shoot these guys, and then he had those guys killed, and that's the end of it. And that's why
everybody's dead.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why it's never going to be solved.
So there's 8 hours, and these main guys show up, and then they die, and it's well done, but there's not enough dramatic music, and there's not enough cool stylistic shots of Tupac and Biggie to make this thing. It's good. It's 100%. If you've got 9 extra hours, you're hungover and you're stuck on your sofa for the day because you just can't get up without throwing up.
And you want to watch something that doesn't have a resolution?
Yeah.
Spend 8 hours on this piece of shit? No thanks.
But if you like that time period, for me, I lived there. I saw, it's all about Los Angeles, and it's Los Angeles is actually like the big story. Los Angeles and the culture and the racist barrier after the Rodney King.
Right.
So all that's in there. So for me, it's like, I got all that because I was there. But yeah, you're right. Maybe. I don't know. It looked really good. The music was fantastic. They brought up old DJ Quick, like all the old stuff we grew up with. But I don't know, man. Like I said, it left me pretty unfulfilled, even though it was stylistically good. I guess that we're talking about my script, man, and Doug. We've had this argument. Doug says, I have this script and I have a happy Hollywood Mark Rose ending. Mm-hmm. And Doug thinks that it doesn't need to be that way.
Right.
What is the consensus? As we're talking about Unsolved, what is the consensus? Do people want a happy ending?
I don't think there's a set answer. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. The Shawshank Redemption. Originally, it ended with Morgan Freeman sitting on the bus driving towards Mexico. And they showed that to people, and they were just like, fuck that noise. They have to meet.
Right.
And so they went and they down to some island, and they filmed them walking towards each other on the beach. Perfect ending.
Yep.
Had it ended with him sitting on the bus, like, well, I'm going to see my friend, it wouldn't be the same movie. So some movies do need it, and then some movies you do need that sort of Goodfellas ending, where the ending just like punches you in the face. So I don't think there's a set answer. With the film you're talking about, I would say the audience it's made for, they want a happy ending. Like that audience, it's not a Hollywood movie. It's an alternative. So they don't want the Goodfellas ending. They watch movies, those type of movies, to avoid that. In my personal opinion.
Right. Yeah, because it's a
so because I'm not looking at what I want to see. Because I like if say I don't know you and I'm just walking through Walmart and I saw that DVD, I would never pick it up because I don't watch religious. I don't watch religious films since I had a choice over what I could watch. So I mean, I would watch
since they lifted the communist block on movies, and I was allowed to watch whatever I wanted.
I would pick the cheap horror movie sitting next to it for $9.99. So that's how I'm not going about what
Hatchet 4 or The Fateful Season. Oh, this is a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. Yeah.
So there you go.
To me, it depends on the story, like Lee was saying. And in your story, I think you have, just in my personal opinion, you miss the mark of what you're trying to tell by giving too much of a happy ending. That's all I was trying to say. And I don't want to get into the details. Are we going to get into the details of this?
I'm doing a completely disagree with, like I said in the text a few weeks ago, like 2 years ago, I was sitting in my buddy Mike's house, and his mom was watching this faith-based film. And it takes place in the Old West, and there's like 17 of them, apparently. It's all a pretty blonde school teacher who comes to town and marries the sheriff. And like the orphanage she works in, they have cholera. And literally, I wasn't paying attention to it until Lou Diamond Phillips walked in like a hat and went, "We got to run those orphans out of town." And I just looked up and said, "What the fuck are you watching?" She's like, "Oh, one of my movies." And I was just like, and I started watching. I was like, it's just not for me.
Right.
But, and of course at the end, the kids got cured of cholera. She married Marshall What's-His-Who's-It. And the music swells and everybody's happy.
Right.
What's it?
I mean, it was atrocious. And your script is much better.
Oh, well, thanks.
And that's what I'm saying. But that's on. There have been 17 of those movies.
Right.
And they loved them.
She loves it. Like she has the books they're based on. She watches those in Hallmark movies.
Well, there you go.
And that's just, there is a huge market for that. And I am 100% not a part of it. But I do respect that they want an alternative.
I do not have a subscription to the online Hallmark channel streaming content.
No. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So that is. It's all about the audience. Well, here's the thing. So going back real fast, summing it up, Unsolved, very good, has its moments, but because the mystery was never solved, that kind of leaves you. You want something, even something more, some sort of finish.
And that's the thing. You knew there wasn't going to be an answer.
I know.
You still wanted one.
Yeah.
You 100% knew what was going to happen.
Right.
But you still get caught up in it, and you're like, fuck. Like, it happens to me, too,
So I watch a ton of ID, and I watch a bunch of Unsolved, and at the end I'm like, why did I even sit through that?
When I watched something on Jonestown, and then when they talk about the senator who had the people who wanted to leave, I'm like, oh, they're leaving. I'm like, no, they're not. The truck's coming with the guys with machine guns. I know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And when it happens, I'm like, fuck.
Well, they leave you with some terrible music, some terrible depressing music, and it fades into black, and then the slate comes up and says, "Little Susie Jones' murder was never solved," and you're like, did I just watch this for an hour and a half? Really? Like, the
happens
killer's still out there.
Exactly.
All the time.
There you go. Yeah. Unsolved is, well, the review is Unsolved. Yeah. So there you go. And I watched only the most classic, one of the classics, Casino.
Oh yeah, I watched it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It's not as good as Goodfellas.
No.
But technically it's a more technically perfect movie.
It's slicker.
It looks so good.
Yes, it does.
It really does.
Yeah, it really does. There was 398 F-bombs in that movie.
You can say fuck on here.
100 and...
Doug, you watch your fucking mouth.
Yeah. Well, there was 178 fucking minutes in that fucking movie.
Yeah.
That means that every fucking 2 minutes, every 2.23 minutes, there was a fuck.
75% of that's Joe Pesci.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, let's, in fact, I've got this is the best ever. I've got the sweariest section of this. Let's see. It's pretty funny. All right. I don't want 10. I said 50,000. I don't give a fuck where you get it, fuckers. They take it, but they don't want to give it back. How the fuck can you grin? How the fuck can you grin? You know how much I'm stuck? You give a fuck, do you? This goes on.
Dude, when he's playing blackjack,
oh yeah,
he goes, take this stiff and shove it up your fucking ass.
Yeah, that's where it is. Take this stiff and pound it up your fucking ass. Hit me again. Take this one, stick it up your sister's ass. Hit me again.
They switch out the dealers, and they got that really nice looking woman, and they switch out this Uncle Fester looking at. Oh, look at this beaut.
Yeah, that's it. Keep looking at him, you fucking dummy. You had any fucking heart, you'd be out fucking stealing for a living. Hit me again. What the fuck you keep looking at him for? And you're fucking, look at this 20 fucking paints in a row. Hit me again.
Yeah. I love that movie so much.
Interesting. I tried to find the actual number of cigarettes that De Niro's chain-smoking ace. But there isn't a number. But I didn't realize that this guy is he's so good that he would move his cigarette for the continuity purposes. This wasn't the continuity person that would do it. De Niro would move the cigarette inside his fingers, so that it always looked. So basically, if he had smoked it down half, he would hold it out, so it would always look like it was the same length to keep that continuity.
Yeah.
Who thinks it? Like actors, like that's great, man. Like who would think of that?
Well, that's him being one of the greatest actors ever. I mean, like most people.
No mistake. Yeah,
that's no mistake. Right. That movie's amazing, and I really wish that I could have Ginger before she starts really doing the drugs. If I could just have Ginger for just.
Now I'll take the chick who was the co-host on his little talk show.
Yes,
yeah,
she was.
She seemed like a lot less headache.
You know what's really sexy is Joe Pesci's wife in that movie.
Yeah.
Remember when she comes out the airport and she's got that hair and like smacks her in the face?
When there's the cops are going through her luggage, he's like, "Hey, don't look at me. I gotta live with it. If I need money in there, I'll whack it up with you." Oh my God.
That's great. What a great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie.
And just like Robert Richardson, the DP, everything it's so bright.
He always uses that spot
right on top of it, and just like the scene when they're walking down the hallway and the Devo song's playing, and they wear those god awful suits, just the worst suits but I still think, oh damn, I would wear that suit.
Shit, yeah.
Do you know what the budget was for Robert De Niro's costume alone in that film?
Yeah,
$1.3 million.
I didn't.
That was just for him.
Because he looks amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
That's why he kept his pants in the closet, right?
Yeah, that's right. That was great when he's at the desk.
And of course, it's the only Martin Scorsese movie that has Joe Bob Briggs in it.
Yes. As the dumb.
He's the guy. He's the problem.
Yeah.
Is this just another dumb fucking white man or what? Couldn't keep his station clean.
Well, I apologize, Sam.
Yeah.
That's great.
And the scene with L.Q. Jones, who was his brother-in-law. Yep, what does he say? He goes, yep, Don's about as useless as tits on a hog. But he's my brother-in-law.
Yep, sorry. Can't you do something for him?
Yeah. In reality, he should have just given him another job.
Yeah.
Like that would have changed
it. Might have changed the whole movie.
Had he just given him
the whole story, right?
Put him over the bar or something.
Yeah.
It would have changed.
Put him over the toilets.
Exactly.
No kidding. Custodian. Make him a busboy to run glasses out to the bar and all that problem. But instead, they had to run a kike out of Nevada. What's he say? He says, does he have his gaming license?
Yeah.
We're going to have to run a kike out of Vegas or something like that. It's terrible. That's it.
Yeah.
Just giving Joe Bob Briggs another gig. He wouldn't be on Netflix doing The Last Drive-In.
Right.
Joe Pesci's character, what was his name?
Nicky
wouldn't be buried in Kansas City somewhere in a cornfield.
With his brother Dominic.
Yeah, buried alive. All that. They were just giving Joe Bob Briggs another job.
Well, Nicky was going out.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing really mattered. He was gonna go out.
Could you imagine living your life that way, having to walk outside and do this to talk to somebody because people were actually physically, following you and reading your lips?
Yeah. Opening up a jewelry store and just going and robbing these places, and that's how you fill your jewelry store. It's ridiculous.
In the book, they talk about how none of the houses aren't made of anything.
Right.
There's a dry rot. It's just a wooden frame, chicken wire with plaster over it. So they would just take a bed sheet and tape up the corners, and then take a hammer and knock around it, and just pull the plaster down. Then they just walk into your house.
Yep.
Like, because if you put made them out of stuff, it would dry rot. And so literally he would just walk into people's houses, and they had safes, but the safes were just encased in plaster, so he would just get some big goon to just go rip it out of the wall, and they'd be like, all right, thanks a lot. Just rob people blind.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
Yeah.
Crazy. I remember when there was you probably remember this. Remember when there was some guys that were older than us that got busted selling drugs? It was a big ring. Do you remember when, right before I went to Los Angeles, the police were following me? Remember I took Megan Simpson out? Remember they were following me? They followed me to your house, followed me to the Olive Garden. We worked there. Do you remember that, Tom? It wasn't.
Kind of.
It was like a week that they were doing this because they thought that we were a part of that.
Right.
And I remember they were at the Olive Garden, and I got off work, and then I went and got Megan Simpson. You were dating Krista. Mm-hmm. We were kind of double dating stuff. And they pulled me over with Megan Simpson in the car and harassed me, and she was late getting home. I remember all that. And I just remember how miserable that was. And that was like 4 days before I was like, dude, what are you guys... I couldn't imagine living my life as a criminal, like having to do... swap cars out and every time you pick up the phone, you're worried somebody's...
Yeah, you walk outside, somebody might just shoot you in the face.
Yeah.
Like Alan King's character, he was this close to living. Like, they were like, should we let Stoney live? Like, he was in the Marines. He was a
great guy. His dad was a stand-up guy.
And they're like, hey, he's not Italian. Why take the chance? And he just walked out to his car. And the guy who shoots him is Frank Vincent's character.
Oh, okay.
That's the guy, that's because he was the technical advisor about how to murder people. And he's like, just walk up, just don't stop pulling the trigger till it clicks, and
that scene's great too because it's overhead, and the guy walks up and just goes pap.
He was
pap, pap as he's dropping. He's like tap 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 chink, and then
he was one old guy away from living. Had Remo said, let him live, he'd be alive today, or for a long time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Man, I mean that lifestyle. I don't know how anybody. I mean, it's cool and they make it cool and stylistic in movies like Casino.
Right.
But that's miserable.
No.
I don't know how anybody wants to do that. So there you go. All right, and that's perfect. You're either a gangster or you're deep cover.
Right. There you go.
You're in deep cover and you're a cop.
Right.
Posing as a gangster and selling drugs.
Who sort of becomes a gangster.
Yeah. Sort of becomes a gangster.
Cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that is our film tonight.
Yep.
Da, 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 da.
Yep. From 1992 is Deep Cover, directed by the great Bill Duke, who most people remember from Predator.
What movie?
Predator.
Ghost this motherfucker.
And it's just...
Give up our position again. I'm going to bleed you right here. What's he say? No. I screwed it up.
Yes, you did. And, but yeah, it stars Larry Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum. And it's a really cool movie. It's so what do you think, Doug? Tell us your thoughts on it.
Well, I reviewed this movie for the cast, I don't know, maybe a month ago.
Right, yeah.
4 or 5 weeks ago. It's one of my all-time favorites. I just, it's probably my favorite Jeff Goldblum role of all time. He's just amazing as Jason David, just a crooked-ass lawyer that gets involved with these drug dealers. And basically he wants to finance, he's found this scientist and he's trying to make enough money to finance this synthetic drug that it's not illegal, but it has like all the characteristics of cocaine and all this other stuff, but much cheaper, and he's trying to drum up money, so he's gotten in bed with some of these really despicable drug dealers. And Lawrence Fishburne is a cop who gets asked to go undercover because basically it's not that he's a bad cop, but he's better served as being somebody on the street because that's the life he knows, and that's who he really is, even though he's tried his whole life to stay away from it. And it's about their relationship and the relationship between Fishburne and the police department that he works for, and how they're manipulating him into doing these illegal things, and he's had to kill a guy and selling drugs to kids and all this on the street and watching people die, and he can't do anything. And it's just it's an awesome story. It's drawn out perfectly. It's actually got like a poetic, kind of feel to it. A lot of the narration that Fishburne does is really poetic when he's kind of talking about what's going on. I guess before some of the certain scenes, and like at the very beginning, he's like, gather round as I lay it down and give you my pedigree. It's just like that first line. I was like, okay, I'm fucking hooked on this. Like, this seems cool. And like I talked about with Hoodlum, where Hoodlum fails and this movie excels is in the dirt, in the grittiness, and in how it looks. It looks amazing.
Right.
When he goes from cop to drug dealer and he's living in this slummy apartment, it all looks and feels so real. The soundtrack is amazing.
The scenes with the mother and the single mother and the little kid are very uncomfortable.
Yeah, but it's very real.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love this movie. I always have. Highly recommend it.
I think one of the coolest things is the way they use costumes.
Yeah.
Like you first see when Fishburne first goes undercover, he's wearing street clothes. And the first time you see Jeff Goldblum, he's dressed like a lawyer. He's a lawyer. He's dressed in suits. But as the movie progresses, Fishburne looks more like a drug dealer, and so does Goldblum. He starts wearing this dope leather coat and stuff, and just like you see them go from like sort of more normal people to these terrible human beings.
Right.
And it's in a way it's almost like a reverse gangster movie. Most gangster movies are about the rise and fall of a gangster. This is about the fall of a cop and the rise of a gangster. Because at the end of the movie, he's Frank White.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and like he has the drug dealer's chauffeur is his old guy. Is now his chauffeur and stuff. And it's a super cool movie. Like you said, very poetic. There's not really another movie like it. Because most movies like The Departed or whatever, it's about an undercover cop. At the end of the movie, there's still a cop. Then in this movie, he realizes that being a cop is completely pointless. That drugs... You have to kill all the people who want to get high for drugs to stop.
Right.
And that will never happen. So...
Take the money.
Take the money. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's great at the end, and this is probably a spoiler, but not really, but the way Jeff Goldblum plays when he's holding that guy, and he's like, I'm a cop, David. Like, David's like...
I don't care.
Get in the car. Like, at this point in time...
We've got $800 million in this truck.
You're nobody. You're rich. Shut up and get out of...
Like Goldblum says, he said, race doesn't matter. It's all rich people and poor people.
Yep.
And at that point, him and Goldblum were very rich.
Yep.
That is the best line in the movie.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like there's no difference in black and there's no race.
It reminds me of the line in Network where Ned Beatty says, "There's no countries. There's only corporations."
Right.
He's like, no. He's like, that's the only thing that matters. Which there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're ghosting us, motherfucker. I don't care who you are in the real world. You give up our position one more time, I'll bleed you real quiet. Leave you here.
Are you going to edit that back where you didn't screw up?
Yeah,
okay.
Nice.
Anyway, but yeah, this is super cool.
Dude, I love you.
And it never gets talked about when people talk about gangster movies. Mm-hmm. Like you never hear people talk about this movie. Like it's but the weird thing is, of the three movies we're discussing, this was by far the biggest hit when it came out.
Right.
But in the almost 30 years since, it's pretty much been forgotten. Kind of like the movie I talked about last week, Altered States. It was a very popular movie back then, but not now.
Well, it's a fantastic movie all the way through.
Every bit of it. Even the beginning, man, is so sad. Like with his dad, like it's just it starts off, and like you said, it's almost like Bill Duke.
It's Lawrence Fishburne talking, but you feel it's like the Bill Duke touch.
Right.
Let me get my daddy. Was a user or whatever. I can't remember exactly.
Never have, never will.
But the way he talks, is
taking his first hit.
It's almost poetic, like a rap.
All of it.
It's like, or when he takes the Charles Martin Smith, who's the DA agent. Most people know him as from American Graffiti or The Untouchables. He's a very likable guy. Seems like I've seen him interviewed. Literally seems like the nicest guy ever. He's the world's biggest douchebag in this movie.
He's a monster in this movie.
But you're a drug dealer. Deal drugs.
But when he takes the flask off of him and Lawrence Fishburne turns it up, goes, "Hey, first drink.
Yeah.
This shit ain't bad."
Yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah, it really is. Like it's Bill Duke's masterpiece
for sure.
A lot of people probably like Sister Act 2, but this is more my movie. My kind of movie.
Back like in The Habit.
Yeah. Oh, he directed that movie.
I know.
And
gonna leave that out.
And if you had an interview, if you had an interview with him and asked him if he'd watched Sister Act 2, he'd say no, but I live in the house that it paid for.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, super cool movie. By far, unfortunately, it's not that easy to get a hold of. The DVD I have is one of the old cardboard box.
He'll sell it to you for.
I think Warner Brothers Archive is putting it out on Blu-ray.
Good.
So yeah, there will be a better edition.
Because I've looked for it and I've never.
But if you want it today, donate to our Patreon page, and I might talk Lee into sending you his copy.
There we go. That'd be a pretty big donation.
Deep cover, man. Great stuff.
1992.
Yep, Dr. Dre. It's actually Dr. Dre does the.
First Snoop Dogg song ever released.
Yep, well, the first Dre song underneath Suge Knight, ironically.
Yeah.
How all that it's all
the
kind
song,
of.
the soundtrack for this movie.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's one of the best soundtracks ever.
I mean, I used to have the tape, then I had the CD back in
I
the
can
old
feel it.
Like, it's
Yeah.
awesome. It's still awesome.
It's still awesome.
Yeah, a lot of the movie soundtracks do not age well.
Tonight's
Like
the
we
night
talked
we
about
get in some shit.
Judgment Night.
Right.
Yeah, that's a no. This still has legs.
Dun, 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 dun.
The movie and the music.
Yeah.
Just another victim, kid.
Awesome movie.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Would you turn off his mic?
I think you need to.
Yeah.
I think you need to. So there you go. So it's a rent it for sure.
Yep.
I mean, it's a buy it. It's
yeah.
it's a buy it.
It's a see it however you can.
So that's two 90s gangster movies where it's past rent it. It's go get you a copy of it.
Yeah. If you like gangster movies, there's no way you won't like it. I said that last
Especially,
week.
yeah. Well, unless you're a young millennial who doesn't know what a good movie is.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not listening, so that doesn't matter.
That's true. Good point there. Good point there. Well, we got any news this week?
I do have two stories. A few days ago, the Disney-Fox merger officially is 100% finished. They are now the same company.
Liquidation.
And about 7,500 people are going to lose their jobs.
Yep.
But we might get a decent Fantastic Four movie, so it's kind of even. That sucks. Like the Fox 2000, they're independent imprint. Those people are being fired as we speak. Mm-hmm. A lot of Fox Animation. I don't think those guys are gonna, because Disney doesn't need animators, right? So a lot of people are gonna lose their jobs. We're gonna get a few. The bad thing is, obviously the people losing their jobs. That's the worst thing. But we're also gonna get less movies. We're gonna get a new Die Hard movie. They're gonna be a new Planet of the Apes movie. All the big movies that Fox would have released in the next 10, 15 years. Those movies are still going to be made, because it's all about, they make money. But
it's all about money now. It's not about art. It's about
the cooler movies that they would have released, the smaller movies, through Fox 2000, through whatever, those movies will never be released. They'll never be financed, So now people think, because, Marvel gets back all those characters, the Fantastic Four characters, all those characters that Fox owned, Yeah, that's cool, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's worth it. I think Rupert Murdoch getting $300 billion in Disney stock is probably not worth it for the film industry.
Agreed.
But anyway, my second story is about something we've talked about a lot on the Facebook page, the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood trailer. And the thing I wanted to bring up about it is
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie plays Sharon Tate, and what's Speed Racer's name? Emil Hirsch plays Jay Sebring, who are the two people in the film who were murdered by the Manson family. And first of all, I have two questions. Do you think you should, this is not Unsolved, this is not Zodiac, this is not a movie about the Manson movie, this is a fictional story that just deals with it. Now, whether or not they'll be murdered in the film, I have no idea.
I think they do. I think they do, actually.
But, do you think, you should do that, you use that? Because we're not talking about Beethoven. It's not somebody who's been dead for centuries. It's somebody like Sharon Tate. Now, Sharon Tate's sister did read the script and said it was very tasteful. So, but it's I think it's kind of a moral gray area as far as using real murder victims in a fictional story.
Right.
People whose family are still alive. I would be I don't think I would do that, personally.
Well, it's like that new Ted Bundy movie.
Right.
it's the same kind of gray area. It's like, are you capitalizing on this tragedy?
Yeah. Are you reporting or are you sensationalizing?
Right.
Yeah.
This, though, with Tarantino, just from the little bit that I know about, which isn't very much.
Right.
It's not, like you say, it's not like I'm telling the story of this Manson thing.
Oh, yes, very true.
It does have some, I guess, some real people in it. But like you say, I don't know the fate of these people, and I don't know how true to history they're trying to go with this.
Right.
I have no idea.
Well, that's another thing I was want to bring up. In Inglourious Bastards, Hitler dies by Eli Roth pumping machine gun bullets into his face in a movie theater, which is completely different than how reality. So if this takes place and obviously it takes place in the same universe because all his movies, like Stephen King novels, they're all connected. So do you think he will change the historical outcome? Because in the Tarantino universe, basically he said that the end of Inglourious Bastards, that's what makes everybody obsessed with pop culture in his universe. Because movies had this huge historical impact on the end of World War II. And World War II changed the entire world.
Right.
So in that world, it's changed even more because of the end of Inglourious Bastards. That's why in True Romance, who's the movie producer is Eli Roth's character's son. That's why he makes war movies, all this stuff. It's like this whole sort of
connection.
Connection. And will that, now that it's in an altered universe, will that change the Manson family murders?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, because I heard one guy, he just came up, I was on the Sun webpage, and he was like, he had a theory like an hour after the trailer came out. He was talking about how that, you see DiCaprio, a quick draw artist, he was on a Western TV show.
Right.
And he said he's going to be Margot Robbie's neighbor, and he's actually going to save her life. And that's what makes him a movie star at the end, because you see him shooting a movie at the end of the trailer.
Yeah, and the kid goes, that was the best acting.
Yeah.
That was the best acting I'd ever seen.
And that's just an interesting idea.
It's possible.
Yeah. And Jay Sebring, the guy Emil Hirsch plays, he introduced basically Bruce Lee to Hollywood. Mm-hmm. The movie, I can't remember the name of the movie where Sharon Tate did karate. Bruce Lee was her trainer. And Warren Beatty eventually played Jay Sebring in the movie Shampoo, but he was already dead by the time that movie got made.
Right.
And so he was just 100 at the wrong place at the wrong time. Had he not been at his friend's house,
Yeah.
Like Ron Goldman.
Exactly. Like Ron Goldman. Wrong place, wrong time.
Wrong place, wrong time. I'm just going to bring these glasses by. I'll be back in a minute.
And
change the course of history.
But so that I'm interested to see how it comes
allegedly.
out. Allegedly, yes. But it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, that's a cool dynamic to think about.
Right.
I actually hadn't even thought about that. I immediately just thought, well, of course they're going to get killed.
Yeah.
Because of who it is.
Right. And then Desmond Harrington, the guy who plays Manson, he's also playing Manson in Mindhunter Season 2.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Nice. And that guy's awesome. He was on Justified.
When is that coming out?
Probably later this year.
I think it's,
The new Happy Season 2 is coming.
Yep. End of this month. Yeah. But, those are the only two news stories I had.
Well, to go back to your first one, yes, I completely disagree. I mean, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, but when you consolidate production companies, I don't know if that may be a good thing though. I would rather see 8 great movies,
right,
than miss
but I don't think
22.
I don't
bad ones.
I don't know if we're going to be getting more great movies. I don't,
You have that much faith in Disney.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, Disney's done pretty well. I'll be honest. They did well with the Marvel. They've done well with Marvel, and they've done well with.
That's okay,
my
but
kids
that's
love
not
their Disney movies.
That's not necessarily my genre.
Right.
I
I like those movies, but at the same time, I would rather Fox make something like Deep Cover,
right?
Than
because Disney's never going.
No. Now they said they are going to keep the 20th Century Fox name. That way, like the Die Hard prequel they're playing, and those movies, they're obviously not going to release R-rated movies through Disney.
Right.
So basically, it'll be like they created Touchstone in the early '80s to release R-rated movies. This will basically just be a giant version of that.
I gotcha.
Oh yeah,
and
Touchstone released He Got Game.
That's true. Yeah. And
so you think there'll be a decline of? I don't know.
I think it'll be an uptick in more tentpole giant movies. And like I said, they now own Die Hard, Planet of the Apes, Predator. They own way more intellectual properties than they used to, basically. And there'll be a lot more of those. But like I said, he got game, there will be less of those.
Which is a shame.
Which is a shame. Yeah.
But they did the movie playing in the background there, Alice in Wonderland. That's Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Tim Burton's Dumbo's coming out. See, there are some Disney. I'm a little bit different. I'm a little more Mark Rose than you guys are, though. I'm more.
You know that mic's on.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just.
People can hear you, man.
I don't know. I think I'm more open. You're more of a film snob than I am. I can look at Alice in Wonderland by Tim Burton and say, I could just say, hey, the movie's, I like it. It's not very good, but I was entertained. Maybe because my kids were entertained. Where you look at it and go, man, that was a piece of shit.
No, I wouldn't say it's because just 80% of the movies I watch are genre movies. Like that's my forte.
So you're a little bit of an aristocrat when it comes to films. It's fine.
Okay,
I'm a little more open to it. You know, I got the rainbow flag. You know, I have the rainbow flag of movies. I can.
You like a wide variety of movies.
Yeah. Okay. I like a wide variety. I'm open. I'm open to anything. Whereas
that's your
films
accurate.
only go one way. Mine
That's true.
might go
You're 100% accurate. Yeah, that's true. The only time in my life I'll ever be referred to as an aristocrat, I can tell you that much. But anyway.
Yes, Disney's going to take over the world, and all those people, all those great, talented people are going to spill out of that studio and into my workforce, and there's going to be less work for me.
There you go.
Because somebody else can probably do podcasts and animation and video editing and video camera work better than me. Somebody that's getting their pink slip is better than me. Yeah. That sucks.
Probably more than one.
7,500 is a rough estimate.
7,500. Yeah, but out of that 7,500,
a lot of them are going to go work.
I'm sure some of them aren't as good as me.
No. Yeah, a lot of them is just
maybe a couple. Actually, a couple of them have better backgrounds than I do. That's probably.
Yeah.
Hey, I get to do the Harlem Globetrotters all weekend.
They're still around.
Yeah. Tell Mellow Rock Lemon I said what's up.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, great, perfect. Well,
no, they're funny.
My bubble is bursted. Just guess we can go home now.
All right.
Right after Lee's Pick a Flick video.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, I have a movie. It's actually a Japanese film, and it's kind of goes similar to what we were talking about tonight. It's a movie called Violent Cop, and it is the first movie directed by Takashi Kitano, starring him. He was actually an actor and stand-up comedian before this, and literally, he was on set, and the director quit, and they were like, "Hey, man, you just direct this movie." And they thought they were going to get he basically he was imagine if Robin Williams, he was just a super famous comedian,
right.
And they thought they were going to get a lighthearted kind of cop movie. And imagine if Robin Williams directed, direct this movie, and he makes The Departed.
Right.
That's how much of a shock it was. And now he's just thought of as this gangster movie director, but he was a huge comedian in the 80s in Japan. And it's a guy, kind of like Lawrence Fishburne's character at the beginning of Deep Cover. He's so dedicated to being a good cop, but unlike Fishburne and Deep Cover, he has no bend in him. There's no no bribes, no this,
right.
He is, basically that sort of dirty, hairy archetype cop, but he just completely alienates everyone around him. And the reason it's called Violent Cop is because he's extremely violent. And it's sort of about it's like a dirty, hairy type movie in a realistic situation, how he couldn't exist. Eventually the corruption and everything just sort of conspires against him.
Right.
It's a very interesting movie, especially for a first-time director.
Cool.
Violent Cop from 1989. It was released in America in 1990. But similar tone to the sort of movies we're talking about this month.
Speaking of Japanese movie, my son was pressing on me about The Night Comes for Us.
Oh, Lord.
So I let him watch two scenes. I let him watch the meat market scene. Why? Just cause I wanted to show him. Well, this is the best part. This is the funny part.
Right.
So he watches that, and then we go to the car scene where he's being detained.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so here's the point. Point is he's watching it, and the subtitles are fuck,
Yeah.
right? So my wife walks in, and she's like, Garrick, and I was like, he's not reading those things. Because they're speaking in Indonesian, so it doesn't matter. Like, so she saw the subtitles and was freaking out. I'm like, but it's in Indonesia. He doesn't know that they're saying fuck, because he's not reading the subtitles.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought that was funny.
Right.
When you said Japanese film, I remembered that. I don't know why I let him. I think
the answer is because you're a terrible father. Probably.
Well, I watched an R-rated movie with Oliver.
Right.
That I thought he would like.
Is this a new segment?
I don't
where
think
you traumatize your children.
I don't think we talked about
what was
this,
it?
but maybe we
Basic
did.
Instinct?
No. We watched the
Sleepaway Camp.
We watched the original Matrix.
Right. Sure.
You know, I think he's going to like this, and he loved it.
Right.
And I saw that on Prime, like all three of them are on there, and I said, "Hey man, the second one's on here." Last weekend we were hanging out, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I really want to watch it." We got about 40 minutes into the movie, and he turned to me and said this, "Daddy, this is trash, man." And we cut it off right there, and that's the end of the Matrix. That's the end of the whole story.
Your son is not wrong.
Yeah, he figured it. He was like, "Daddy, this is trash, man." And
it took me months to admit that to myself.
Yeah,
I was so hyped for it.
I didn't want it to be what it ended up being.
And I was just like, I think it was like the second time I watched it. I was just like, during the playground scene, I was just like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah, it's just horrific, and even an 11-year-old can sniff it out.
Right.
We watched Spideyverse last night.
Yeah? What'd you think?
Dude.
Yeah. Visually great.
It's like a comic book.
Yeah, I am leaving here to go get it.
It is perfect.
And take it home and watch it with him.
It is perfect.
Yeah.
It is a perfect film. 100% perfect. To the point where my wife was sitting down watching it going, this is crazy awesome. Like, everybody was like...
And like I said, the way they did the Kingpin in it, I thought was really well done. You know, like he's not evil in it. He wants what, you know... The Kingpin's motivation is I think, one of the best things about it. Because he's not just like a snarly villain.
Right.
He has a,
I remember when you reviewed it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the Patreon page is coming. We're going to shoot it at the beginning of our next podcast, and then I'll get it up and get all that stuff running. We appreciate all the support. Bathwater Showdown this week will be more of a opinionated. Do you like the happy endings or do you want the sad ending? There you go.
There we go.
There's the vote. Do you want the Hollywood ending or do you want the alternative?
Yeah.
You got me wrong on this one, man.
Huh?
You got me wrong on this one. It's just your story, right?
Okay. I'm talking about people in general, though. No, this is a good argument because there'll be a lot of people.
That's one thing.
We talked about Mark.
Some people like it, and like Lee said, some movies and stories need it. Some can still have a happy ending, like yours can. It just doesn't have to be so fucking fluffy. That's my point.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, do we like it? Hey, well, all our 225 members of Tales all like films that we like. I wonder if they like happy endings or would they rather...
Well, obviously not.
Would they have rather...
Have you watched any of the movies we've watched over the last 6 months?
I mean, what happens in Shawshank if they show red on that bus and then the bus flips and he falls out the window? He's ejected from the bus and he dies and he never sees Andy Dufresne.
I think they would have burnt the theater down.
You think, yeah, probably. Yeah, probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it just comes up thin. Just a picture of Rob Reiner, Frank Darabont just giving you the bird.
Speaking of, I saw a clip of our favorite director, Gasper Noe.
Oh, yeah.
I saw Climax, like an orgy scene in Climax, and I'm like, I must watch this.
Right. Well, report how it is.
You keep falling for it, don't you?
Yes, I think we need to do a block on him.
Oh, jeez, I'll be sick that month.
Yeah, we put on our plastic bags when we watch this movies. Because it's, so I just saw one scene and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Like almost, it's like when somebody says, hey, don't touch that. Or don't smell that. Don't smell your hand.
You can't stop. You can't stop yourself.
You're like, you can't stop yourself. Let's smell it. Like that's how That's how his films are.
Right.
Like, that's how it is. It's almost like you look. You want to look to see the disaster. It's like, hey, you got something on your hand. Don't smell it. It smells bad. And you go, I just told you not to smell it.
Yeah, and you were right. It smells like shit.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we're getting out of the, it's not gangster.
We've got one more in the block.
It doesn't star
Larry Fishburne.
Right. However, it does have Sean Penn,
Gary Oldman,
and Ed Harris.
Yep.
State of Grace.
Oh, yeah.
Our last of the block. I guess we'll see you then. Thank you to our sponsors. Golden Ticket Cinemas in Lenore. $5 movies every Tuesday, all day long. GTcinemas.com. The Spot Toys in Newton. Find them on Facebook at facebook.com/The Spot Toys.